Okay, dear all, welcome to the European Sustainable Development Goals Summit 2020, Green Deal and Turkey Roundtable meeting. I am Serdar Dinler, chairing the Corporate Social Responsibility Association of Turkey, CSR Turkey. And first of all, before starting this roundtable, I would like to thank CSR Europe for giving us this opportunity to be part of this summit. This roundtable meeting, we will have chance to hear from very distinguished professionals from Turkey. They are Mr. Bahadur Kalasa, Mr. Bülent Özcan, Ms. Burçak Çullu, and Mr. Mehmet Nane. Well, these kind of roundtable meetings, usually the moderator will start introducing the panelists with reading their long biography, but I'm not going to do that. I will just very briefly introduce you the panelists, and I will invite the ones who wants to know more about them, visit the event website, follow the speaker links where they can find the full bios of our speakers. I would also like to remind you about the questions. You can send questions via chat box on your screen. Okay, I would like to start with Mr. Dr. Bahadur Kalasa. Welcome, Mr. Kalasa, Bahadur Kalasa. Thank you very much for being part of this panel. And Mr. Kalasa, who is the president of Bosphorus Institute, Paris and Istanbul, he is also honorary president of the Brussels Energy Club in Brussels, scientific member of the Brussels University's Institute for European Studies, and board or advisory member of several institutions like European Council on Foreign Relations, the Atlantic Council, Arguden Academy, Global Relations Forum Istanbul, and Berlin Bosphorus Initiative. So it goes on and on. But so that's why I guide participants to follow the speakers' links for the full biography. Dr. Kalasa, I would like to thank you again for being a speaker for this event. Well, my question is, we are all aware of your deep knowledge about sustainable development goals on SDGs. And my question is, how does SDG works nowadays? What I mean is during this pandemic and in the new normal after the pandemic, I hope soon. And how would Green Deal work again in the same context? And of course, in the Green Deal, we can add that Turkey and Europe relations, how would it work? So the floor is yours, Dr. Kalasa. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Dinler, and good afternoon to all the participants. I hope that we will try to at least focus on the right questions. I don't know if we will find the answers, but we are in the age of questions more than ever. Of course, the $1 trillion question is, when will this end? This pandemic will end. This is the major question, and the answers to this question determine the rest of the issues which are on the table now and which are also on the agenda of this wonderful conference. But there are also other questions, of course. What lessons will the humanity learn? Which states will become the world's new leaders? Or nowadays, maybe the most major question for those of us who are in Turkey, what will be the exchange rate between US dollar and the Turkish lira? Or should we have both gold? So the questions may vary, they are different. We have entered to this era of pandemic with also simple questions, but answers have always been complex. But today, the consequences of these questions are in trillions. Global income is currently around more or less 90 trillion US dollars, 130 trillion when purchasing power is considered. So with the impact of the coronavirus crisis throughout this year and next year, this figure will be significantly reduced, not only in its monetary, but also human and institutional dimension. So the situation is very risky. And the globalization, the way we have known the globalization, is likely to evolve, not to disappear, but to evolve and to continue to be one of the major determinant factors of the equation. As of last year, we were at the climax maybe of this century's globalization phenomenon. Everything was moving very rapidly on the surface of the planet. People, goods, services, capital, information, data, ideas, culture, but also negative factors were also moving with more freedom around the planet. The viruses, the global viruses were moving quite rapidly and quite freely. Biological viruses, of course, before COVID-19, there were many others. Financial viruses, the last outbreak of financial pandemic was in 2007 and 8, and today even we are witnessing its corollaries in our economies. Digital viruses, ideological viruses, terrorism virus, the organized crime virus, the corruption virus, the unemployment virus, the disinformation virus, having a direct impact on the elections in the United States, in the Brexit referendum, or in many other countries. And probably I wouldn't be subjective if I emphasize that the most significant virus to determine our near future or even the present tense, the CO2 virus, also is enjoying the globalization and is moving around the planet very rapidly and freely. So the human civilization, our civilization, has entered the COVID-19 pandemic within the midst of this complex dynamic. The same issues will now determine the new reality of the near future. So global trends in the pre-crisis times will shed light on the world which awaits us right after the crisis, or maybe dialectically in the new synthesis which we'll find defining our world in the post-pandemic world, where partially the pandemic will be maybe gradually will be part of our life. We don't know. So these are open questions with many others. What will happen to the dilemma, the paradox between security and freedom, technology, personal space, the nation state, international cooperation, protectionism, urban mobility, oil prices, income inequality, energy investments, energy markets, climate change, once again. And of course, the list of urgent problems which have emerged from the crisis will continue to be at the forefront of our agenda. But keeping the pandemic under control to prevent new waves of outbreak and cross-border control, cross-border cooperation, the balance between safeguarding people's health, returning to business activities, and domestic and international air travel, maritime travel, terrestrial travel, the financial situation of small companies and multinational corporations alike, invoices, loans, debts, insurances, investments, employment. So really, it's very difficult to discuss without taking into account that the pandemic is projected to remove 4 years of growth from the global economy and push additional more than probably 130 million people to poverty, according to the United Nations studies. So this will trigger another cross-border contagiousness, without which we cannot make any analysis correctly for the future of the global economy and, of course, for the future of the Turkish economy. This is once again the poverty virus, income disparity pandemic, social and economic quarantines. Public health first or the economy? It seems that the unhealthy societies bring the economy down. But if the economy collapses, how will the health system work? Which political consensus, which model of transparency and accountability will we find right the balance? Which systems of governance at the institutional, local, national, and international level will be successful? In short, where will the world go? And where will, of course, then Europe go, its Green Deal go, Will it be possible politically? Will it impose to countries like Turkey new ways of production and doing trade, and to societies a new way of not only functioning but of being? And the open questions are there, of course, but there are also some questions which probably have an answer from my point of view at least. One of them is whether we'll be then dialectically move on to an era where the inevitable need for international cooperation becomes obvious. Yes. Will this be a world where the global governance of public health, the European Union's or Eurozone's even management system, the United States multilateral approach towards the global finance and trade policies, the impact of transatlantic and trans-economic areas, the effect of 3D printers on trade, drone traffic, airspace regulations, the impact of satellites orbiting the Earth and supporting even today the economic and social development, artificial intelligence regulations, 5G infrastructure, quantum computing competition, will they become stronger? Yes. What about the global supply chains? And a topic not only for trade, but also for the logistics, finance, technology, agriculture, tourism, medical services, medical data, data management itself. So supply chains in the large sense, less dependency on few sources like China, relatively, of course, you should not exaggerate, and more localization and diversification on the horizon? Yes. Will the proximity become a fundamental criterion in the reorganization of the global supply chains? Yes. Proximity being defined not only in geographic terms, but in regulatory, institutional, and political terms as well? Yes. And this is where the Green Deal is. It's a matter of proximity, not only in geographic terms, but also regulatory, institutional, and political terms between the major trading partners. At the same time, will this be a world in which the OECD countries, let's say, the large West, the West, with common goals such as democracy, rule of law, fundamental freedoms, market economy, independent regulatory institutions, and social progress ideals, will they adopt a more progressive approach to the post-pandemic governance? Will this be a period in which a country like China, despite its authoritarian characteristics, after taking into account its internal social and economic fragilities, becomes also a more constructive player in the new paradigm of international cooperation? Will it be an order in which the West, but more than that, the G20, which represents, by the way, the 60%, 65% even of the world population and almost 85% of the global economy, will the G20 attempt to design and implement policies at the global level? Shall the European states finally commit to sufficient coherence and solidarity as a prerequisite to define a global order for the European Union? Will they agree to confer on the EU more effective competences in the field of economic policies? Will the Eurozone's governance become more supranational? For a country like Turkey, will this be times, notwithstanding the political ups and downs and street fights, but for a country like Turkey, will this be times in which the European Union that is evolving towards flexible membership models provides it with the opportunity to revive its accession process, integration process, the process of transposing the European Union's policy goals, policies, and regulation to the Turkish legal order, to the way of functioning of the Turkish economy and society and politics and governance. In which positioning itself for Turkey as a Eurasian gateway of democracy and economic dynamism becomes the only realistic strategy, the only one, to maintain its global competitiveness. Well, the answers are in the questions, of course. Yes, these are the ways it should be for a better world. After the fourth industrial revolution, will there be now a more focused search for a society 5.0, like the Japanese presidency of the G20 put to the foreground of the global agenda last year? There, the right equation for social, ecological, scientific, technological, and democratic development is at stake. The United Nations, therefore, Sustainable Development Goals, with these 17 the objectives, become the main framework for the achievement of all these developments in the West and maybe in the world. Will the progress that we make in these areas today, even only in part, shape the history of the near future? My answer is once again yes. Therefore, for a country like Turkey, complying with these trends and trying to promote a policy that is also a version 5.0 in its relations with the European Union, modernizing its customs union, also in taking into account all that. The 5.0 approach, like based on the policy goals of the Sustainable Development Agenda of the United Nations, and Green Agenda being also an orbit of progress for that, is a matter of human progress, social progress, but also as a matter of material, tangible competitiveness factor for the Turkish companies. Thank you very much.
Okay, actually, I was just going to continue with the question of companies. I mean, well, we know nowadays we do receive lots of new concepts from communities like Sustainable Development Goals, Global Compact, and Green Deal. How would exactly will affect the business world, and what kind of strategy business should take out of this?
Well, all these big questions that I tried to, of course, subjectively summarize, they could have been strategic questions only until a few years ago, but now they are part of also the short-term agenda, today's agenda, and they all require tactical maneuvers for the countries as well. Not only strategical orientations, but tactical maneuvers in the way the countries are governed, but also in the way the companies are governed. So for a country like Turkey, which is between Europe and Asia, but a country which can benefit from its global positioning only if it continues to integrate itself with the European structures in terms of rule of law, economy, legislation, regulation, standards, and also trying to cherish its Asian characteristics like entrepreneurship, dynamism, communication skills, then there is a success formula for the country and for the companies as well. And today, as the global agenda is taking a shape, a design for Turkish companies, they don't need to be afraid of what will happen in the near future with the Green Deal. However, it is also an opportunity for Turkish companies if they can anticipate the requirements of the Paris Climate Change Agreement and also the European Green Deal to find themselves in the right position to be both sufficiently European and sufficiently dynamic and entrepreneurial in the global system of competition. Is there any other way? I don't think so.
Thank you, Dr. Kalasa. Well, my next question then I would like to ask to Mr. Bülent Özcan. Actually, Mr. Bülent Özcan is the Director General for Financial Cooperation and Project Implementation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Directorate for EU Affairs in Turkey. Mr. Özcan is most known and loved person among civil society organizations, as he manages the projects in the field of capacity building of civil society, improving the legal environment, strengthening public civil society dialogue, social entrepreneurship, and especially corporate social responsibility, volunteerism, innovation, all those subjects that he is covering. Yes, Mr. Özcan, Green Deal in Turkey Some people think that it's a good opportunity and help them in many ways, especially like reducing cost maybe. But some people think it will bring new cost. Because when these new concept comes and when I discuss with business world, they tell me, look, man, we know how to spend money. You should teach us how to make money. So we hear that there are new budgets. That's the rumors nowadays in Turkey for Green Deal, and it's billions and billions, they say, open for Turkey, EU and in Turkey. So can you tell us about the EU budgets for Green Deal and how can we, benefit out of this budget? Maybe civil society organizations. How can we use these budgets, Mr. Özcan? The floor is yours.
Sardar Bey, thank you so much. First of all, of course, I would like to thank CSR Europe and CSR Turkey for inviting us to the European SDG Summit, which will take 4 days, and a lot of speakers with a lot of different ideas, subjects will be elaborated within this summit, and I'm sure it is very, very interesting, and it's very good to be here and to inform you, to talk with you, with the participants in this event. So thanks for your invitation, firstly. But of course, secondly, I would like to thank Mr. Kalasa. As always, he provides us a very good perspective about what is going on in the world, not only in the world, but also in EU and in Turkey, and how the Turkish business world should behave and should follow these important developments. And this is a very macro framework that all the institutions, of course, should have to deal and should have to follow. That is very important. But of course, when we come to your question, first of all, it is coming from macro to micro, because in the macro world is changing. There are a lot of developments, as Mr. Kalas mentioned, and the business world should have to follow them very closely. But in the micro world, the world is, of course, the life is ongoing, and they have to follow also what kind of opportunities they have. This is very important for them. So maybe starting from first the Sustainable Development Goals. We all know that the Sustainable Development Goals were adapted 5 years ago in 2015 in September by United Nations with the participation of the world leaders, and they all agree on 17 different goals, which will make the world much more healthier, much more peace and prosperity will be provided with to achievement of these goals, and the countries will follow these sustainable development goals, which are very, very important for also the business world. Then following that, of course, this is the very comprehensive goals, which is it is covered. But of course, following that, last year there was a change in the management of the EU, European Union. So the members of the parliament change, the commission change. There are changes in of course, European Council, and of course, a change in the mentality. And within this mentality, a new policy is introduced by the new management, new government of the, let me say, European Union. It was the Green Deal, which is very parallel with the Sustainable Development Goals. But when looking at the view from the European perspective, this Green Deal issue is very comprehensive because it covers not only the efforts for climate change and environment, but also it covers all the sectors from transportation to agriculture, to rural development, to regional development, to energy, to every field of life, let me say, even in the European policies. So it is very comprehensive, but in the one side, it's very complementary to the SDG. It is, as we mentioned, of course, considering the SDG, it is very ambitious because what they say till the 2050, there will be zero carbon emission in Europe, and this policy make the Europe's much more sustainable in line with the climate and environment, climate change and environment goals of the world and of course the Europe. This is very important. So of course, when the Green Deal introduced, not only the business world in the Europe, but also in the candidate countries like Turkey, and also all the companies which make businesses with the Europe, because this new policy introduce new legislation, new policies, but of course the type of business should be changed on the basis of new legislation in the Europe, new policies in Europe. There will be new taxes, there will be new type of, let me say, businesses in different sectors, and all the investors in Europe, all the exporters to Europe, and all the business world that have business relations with Europe should have to follow it. And this is, of course, also introduce new costs to the all sectors, which, you know, if you have business with the European companies. So, of course, when we are looking at from the Turkish perspective, this is very important, and we have to follow, and we have to close we have to monitor very closely what should be, or what will be done in the European side in different sectors. So considering the finance, of course, I mean, finance is very important. The new government of European not only introduced the Green Deal policy, but also they introduced a new financial framework for 2021 and 2027, and it covers different opportunities, funding opportunities, not only for, of course, the companies, the civil society institutions, the public institutions, the local governments in Europe, but also in candidate countries like Turkey. So we will also face a new financial framework, let me say, of European side. This financial framework will cover 1.1 trillion euro, which is a very, let me say, a comprehensive budget. Of course, it includes an additional 750 billion euros of a credit program also. So it comes up to 1.8 trillion euros, supporting the the Green Deal policy of the European Union. So this is a huge number, but of course not all of this budget is provided to Turkey, of course, because we are not a member state. So we will benefit these programs partly. But what is important is, as Mr. Kalasa mentioned, when we are looking at the characteristic of the new business environment for Turkey, considering the entrepreneur characteristic of Turkish business world, the innovative characteristics and the competitive characteristic of Turkish business world, it will provide lots of opportunities. First of all, there are some programs which will be ongoing, but a new character. The first program that I would like to share with you is the Horizon Europe, which is very important for Turkey, not only for Turkey, but whole of the European countries, but of course, and also the other countries, that is business relations and research and development relations with European, let me say, continent. So, considering the Turkish business world, Turkish civil society, Turkish local governments, Turkish central governments, this Horizon Europe program is very important, and a new transition call for proposal is already announced. So now we are an ongoing call for proposal, which will be a kind of an introduction call of Horizon Europe. It is a Green Deal call, which covers a 1 billion euro program, and it has 10 different subjects, headings that will provide funding opportunities to the private sector, to the companies, to the local institutions, to the NGOs in Turkey and Europe. So what kind of headings this Green Deal calls now covered? First of all, it was announced on September 2020, last month, we could say, and the deadline for the call for proposal for business world, the companies, will end at the end of January 2021. So there are still opportunity to follow, to understand, to design and prepare projects and apply for EU funding. So there is, as I mentioned, 10 different subjects is covered in this Green Deal call. First of all, the first one is, of course, related to climate action, to environment. So this is very important. finance to the business world, especially to adapt themselves to new types of production in climate change or environment issues, it's an option. Of course, energy sector is another opportunity. Clean, affordable, and secure energy is another call. So this is very important. Thirdly, industry for a clean and circular economy, which is very important for sustainable development goals, because circular economy looks to economy as a much more comprehensive way. Considering especially to municipalities, to local administrations, especially energy and resource efficient buildings is very important. And this call is covered a heading like this. So mobility on the one side again for especially local administrations to provide clean, sustainable, smart mobility in the cities is also covered within this call. Agriculture production, not only for farmers, but also for companies, but also for local administrations. So a farm to fork call for proposal is covered within this Green Deal core, to supporting for central governments for promoting biodiversity and establishing sustainable ecosystems in different sectors is also covered in this call. Zero pollution, zero toxic free environmental investments, research and development efforts of business world is covered within this call. Of course, strengthening the knowledge of the people, and also empowering the citizens to be part of the Green Deal issues is also covered in this call. So this is very good opportunity, not only for companies, not only for NGOs, but also for local and central administrations. So this call is open, and this is a very good opportunity, as I mentioned. So I'm sharing a Turkish web page with you from the chat. So you can see by this way. And also I'm sharing an English, the European Union sites web page, which is, you can find more information and call by call what kind of topics inside in these programs is. So this is one side, but you ask your questions not only for business world, but also for NGOs. So considering the NGOs, EU funding, as I mentioned, is always an opportunity to have activities for Green Deal. So we had a very new call for proposal for NGOs and non-profit organizations in Turkey. They can work with European partners in this call, and this call is Enhancing Climate Adaptation Action in Turkey. This is a grant program. It has a budget of 6.8 million euros, and it is supported projects for NGOs, 150,000 for the civil society institutions, and 450,000 for the projects of municipalities, chambers, and local administrations. So this is a very important call because of a new one, a fresh one, and the call for proposal deadline is 30th end of November, I could say. So it is just, as I mentioned, open, and it covers many opportunities for NGOs in Turkey and European side to work together for the activities for their Green Deal efforts, and also for chambers, non-governmental organizations, and local administrations for their efforts to adapt themselves for the Green Deal policies. Of course, they can develop strategies for climate action. They can develop local strategies for ecosystems and biodiversity. They can make increasing the public, increasing the business world, for instance, efforts, any kind of activities can be covered with this way. They can share best practices. They can share new policies for understanding more Green Deal and prepare themselves for this. And as I mentioned, this is a very good opportunity for NGOs in Turkey, but of course they can work with their counterparts in the European side. So I am sharing with you this link also. As I mentioned, this is a new call and new opportunity. So if I can make a summary, we are now entering a new policy is adopted by European governments, European managers, let me say, the new management of the European Union. So they said the Green Deal is our new goal. So it will, of course, it will provide a lot of effects to not only the business world in Europe, but also in Turkey. But if on the other side, it provides opportunities. And if the companies in Turkey, NGOs in Turkey, local governments in Turkey follow this closely, there are new opportunities, because now we are entering a new financial framework. And in this financial framework, as I mentioned, especially for business world, there are a lot of good opportunities, especially in the program of Horizon Europe. This is a new a continuing program of research and development for support efforts for research and development. But of course, there are a lot of different opportunities for NGOs. I introduced one of them. But in the second round, I will give more information about what this financial framework provides as a general framework. So now I can stop and we can make more information in the second part. So thanks for this part.
Thank you very much, Mr. Özcan. Actually, I'm not sure that it will have a second round because time passed very quickly, but we'll try our best. By the way, Mr. Mehmet Nane is online. Thank you very much, Mehmet Nane, for being among us. As you're a little bit late, so I'll leave you to the last speaker, so you can maybe get a picture of what we were talking about. So I would like to now give the word to Ms. Burçak Çullu. Burçak Çullu is the country director, Turkey, for a Belgian company, International Consulting and Expertise company. She's an expert on Horizon 22, where she leads the subject in Turkey at the Turkish Scientific Research Center, where she worked about 16, 17 years there. She's also very well known international funds expert and also board member of the Institute for Future Research institution. Ms. Çullu, I would like to ask you, okay, Mr. Bülent Özcan told us about these funds available. As you are an expert on funds and projects, may I ask you that how can civil society organizations, private sector, academia can apply? Who are the eligible organizations for these funds? And what type of partnership, especially this is the important point I want to hear from you, what kind of partnership they need to apply for these funds? And of course, maybe are there any plus side funds supporting for this Green Deal subject? So floor is yours, Ms. Çullu. Thank you very much.
Okay, good afternoon and thank you all. It is not an easy task to talk after Bahadur Bey and Bülent Bey. Well, let me just start by thanking CSR Europe and CSR Turkey for giving me a talk in this platform. I'm really impressed what Bahadur Bey and Bülent Bey both said, and after the financial points that we've heard, I don't know what else I can add more. Bahadur Bey indicated that it is really inevitable to, there is an inevitable need for cooperation. It is for sure, and I will try to give some kind of like notes about the cooperation paths and pathways. The other point is like Bülent Bey indicated, there is now an available fund for the NGOs as well. What I would really do if I would be interested in joining to the Green Deal, I would definitely follow Bülent Bey wherever he goes. So that might be my my suggestion to all the stakeholders and all the participants. So if you allow me, I would like to start my remarks by saying it is really better together in all terms, and we are all connected. If there is any alteration in any part of the world, then we can see its impact immediately. So we need to remind ourselves that this fragility is interdependent, and in this interdependency, we need our stakeholders more than ever. We need to cooperate more than ever. It is for sure. I need to note that a Green Deal is not a technical and scientific initiative as it was indicated in the work program, and it needs strong collaboration between science and society actors and science and society. It is always really important in these kind of like initiatives in Horizon Europe or Horizon 2020 or in the SDGs maybe. It is really important to understand the raison d'etre, so why these funds are there. And it is also important to understand why it requires adaptations in the new lifestyle and behavior. It is also important to understand one quote from the work program, which says, do not leave anyone behind, so no one left behind. We can have a look at it from a broader perspective, which means like Green Deal can be defined as a tool of diplomacy for science, and it can also be defined as science for diplomacy. So we need to differentiate this. Because it is for sure that Green Deal will facilitate the international level collaborations between the nations, like countries, single countries, between the international organizations, between the networks of organizations, and also between the non-governmental organizations. It will also have a very direct impact in enhancing the collaboration between academia and private sector, because there is a need for further collaboration between these two in order to respond to the upcoming challenges in the globe, not only in Turkey but also in the globe as well. While countries are really cooperating at the diplomacy level and opening up new borders through initiatives like Green Deal, the society also needs to take the responsibility for the future generations. This is why it is also important for each and every organization to define their as-is position. You see, and as-is means like you need to define your strengths as an NGO or as an organization, global or national. You need to know your strengths, you need to know your capacity, and you need to be aware of your know-how. Because Green Deal strategies and the latest ones that Bülent Bey rightfully mentioned, it requires a cooperation that needs to be beyond state of the art. So here again, we need to note that when we are talking about state of the art technologies, we need to just underline that it is the Turkish research area is within European research area. So the state of the art, the definition of state of the art should be beyond our national borders. We need to also make some kind of like assessment of the work programs and assessment of the call for proposals. Maybe Bülent Bey will mention it more if there will be any time, but I just would like to wrap it up very quickly. You know, in the current Green Deal calls, there is research and innovation action, and there is innovation action, and the other part is coordination and support action. So if you are an NGO with a limited research capacity, you need to look for partners that are conducting top-notch research in their respective fields. If you are interested more in research and innovation action or innovation action, then, for example, if you are assuming that if you are a private sector organization or an international non-profit organization or an NGO or an academic organization, and if you are interested in offshore wind technologies, for example, here I'm going to make you a call because here in Turkey, because I know that there are also international participants who are going to listen to this. So from the Turkish research area, I can introduce you with Middle East Technical University Center for Wind Energy Research Center. This is an excellent center. And if you're going to work on or submit a proposal in the offshore wind technologies, why not to cooperate with them? I'm sure they are preparing their proposals already as a lead, and you can take part as a partner, or you can just be close to them for the further and future opportunities. And if you are more interested on coordination and support action, in the coordination and support action, it can be about like disseminating the knowledge, or it can be about like doing surveys, like research in the very basic level. So you can it is easier to handle the coordination and support actions. There is a coordination and support action in Horizon 2020's latest call. It is called Climate Resilient Innovation Packages for EU regions. And that has a focus to citizens engagement, and you can cooperate with kind of international companies like us or Institute for Future Research as an NGO, or with Viveka or Global Future Design and Solutions as private sector partners. I'm sure there are a number of partners that you can cooperate within and out of Turkey. And I will give you some important points from my experience and from some kind of like success stories and lessons learned. I would recommend all the partners to define their organization's unique value propositions as a leader, as a consortium leader, or as a consortium partner. And if your ambition is to be the leading partner, like consortium leader, then you need to make sure that you have strong partners, maybe from Europe, and you have strong partners maybe from the third countries. We should also note that these calls are also open to the third countries, technologically developed countries as well. If your ambition is to be the partner after defining your role, then you can try to join a consortium who has proven expertise in Horizon 2020. And you need to also note it down that it is time to leverage your network with the scientists and researchers that are working at the top-notch research centers and universities in Europe, in the globe, and in Turkey. And make sure that your consortium has kind of like multi-country, multidisciplinary, and multi-sectoral approach. This is really important. And make sure that you acknowledge RRI tools. Maybe you have heard of it before. RRI refers to responsible research and innovation. As I have mentioned before, the Green Deal is also about like the linkage between science and technology. So they're not separated anymore. So make sure that you acknowledge RRI tools and your approach has a strong societal impact. You can allocate one part on this societal impact. And make sure that you set up a direct link between science and society. And the last word I think I can really say, there was an evaluation committee on Horizon 2020, and they said they are looking for a wow impact. So it would be really strong if, as a consortium, you can create a wow effect with your approach and conceptualization, which means you are going beyond state of the art. And if you are an actor in the Turkish market, then you are, I can say you are really lucky because TÜBİTAK has a lot of support. And I know like Bülent Bey and all the other stakeholders, they are just doing utmost importance, and they are giving utmost importance, and they are doing their best to make sure that we are submitting of a high quality proposals. So please just knock their door to get some kind of support, especially TÜBİTAK support. So cooperation is the only path towards a better future together. It's not possible otherwise to overcome the current challenges that we have been facing with. So these are my remarks. I would be really happy to answer any questions later on. And again, thank you for giving us a word as the only woman representative from Turkey in this panel discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Burçak. Thank you very much for your distinguished knowledge that you shared with us. Thank you. Now, I would like to turn to Mr. Mehmet Nane. Mr. Mehmet Nane is a CEO of Pegasus Airlines. Before that, he actually served CEO of Carrefour in Turkey and CEO of Teknosa, which is a technology retailer in Turkey. Actually, Mr. Nane is a graduate of international relations from Bahadur University, but he started working as a banker after that. And then he joined the Sabancı holding company group, where he held different roles, including Vice President of Strategic Planning and Project Development, Director of the Retail Group, and Secretary General of the company. And also, I would like to mention that he is also one of the founder member of CSR Turkey, Corporate Social Responsibility Association of Turkey. So I would like to thank him again that he is with us today. Mr. Nane, we all know nowadays we receive new concepts, the business world especially, like sustainable development goals, circular economy, corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, all those like these kind of lots of new concepts. And now we have the Green Deal, which actually Mr. Bülent Özcan said that there will be lots of change on political change, legislation change, tax, new type of business, investing style. Everything might be changing with this new Green Deal concept. I would like to ask, how would you think that it's affecting the business world in Turkey, and what type of strategies or plans that business should take, or what plans or strategies you are doing on this new concept?
Thank you, Serdar Bey. Sorry for late joining because I had some technical issues and I was online for a long period of time because my schedule was at 2:30. So after my speech, I would like to have your permission because I have another Zoom call at 4:30. So it was 2:30, 3:30. I would like to apologize for this.
Take your time, no problem.
The words about the social responsibility, environment, these are very good, but I would like to concentrate, I'm doing the same here, on the root cause of this. As currently managers of certain companies and responsible people on certain areas, our main responsibility is at least keep at par what we have received from our predecessors and how we're going to pass this to our successors. So, on environmental means, we received a certain environmental conditions from our ancestors, and we have to pass this at least at par, if it is possible, adding on it. So this is the core reason why we have to look at this issue really in deep and finding the fundamental causes. Whatever the other names and the fancy issues are side of it. So pass what we landed to the future at par or on adding top of it. When we come to the aviation industry, fuel is number one cost item on aviation industry. Although we are not polluting the environment as much as, for example, marine industry, because it's in front of, on the spot of the business world and the communities, it's thought that we pollute the environment. In order to solve this, including the manufacturers and ourselves, we developed certain cases, and there's a CORSIA issue in the EU initiative, which tries to force companies in order to lower their emissions, and if not, pay a penalty or support greenfield or renewable energy resources. And this is going to be applicable by the 1st of next year, and the figures are going to be frozen according to the 2019 figures because 2020 is not an applicable year due to lack of business after the corona issues. So for these purposes, for example, we are using since 2016 a new engine option, which is called NEO, new engine option. What is the benefit of NEO compared to the previous aircraft engines? It is consuming 15% less fuel. This is one of the examples. So we would like to have a sustainable environment and try to minimize the negative effects of the usage of the fuel while going from one air to the another on the environmental framework and to prevent the pollution. We feel as company, as Mehmet, we are responsible. I am responsible this for our next generations. If everybody feels environmental issues, the green issues, in this context, it means that we find the solution. Next is how we're going to adapt it and apply it. So this is most crucial. And we try to, in order to introduce and change the climate within the company, campaigns and try to get support from the NGOs in order to motivate this green stuff in the company. Green is everywhere. For example, when I'm leaving my door, room, if I turn off the light, if I turn off the heater or the cooler, this is a green culture. If I'm not using excess, or if I'm not using one usage or the plastic appliances, but instead of convert them into reusable material, this is the culture. So it's important to inherit this culture to your employees, but you need to inherit that personally. So we try to achieve as a company to inherit this environmental protectionism, sustainable environment culture as a company culture, and try to do our work to pass what we receive to the next generations, at least at par or adding on it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nane. Practical and pragmatic examples you gave us to sort these problems, the solutions. Thank you very much.
So, Serdar Bey, I would like to apologize one by one to all the members attending to this presentation. It's because of my fault. I couldn't able to guess the time change in the European zone and couldn't able to alter my meeting. So I would like your permission to leave to join my other meeting, because 12 people are waiting for me over there also. So next time I will pay more on this and try to spend more time with you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr.
Thanks
Nane.
for your kindness and understanding.
Thank you for participation. Yes,
thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we have time for the second round, but I think we have a few more minutes because we started at as 15:37, I think. So we have 7 more minutes to go. And I can see one question, and I guess this question is to Dr. Kalasa, because from Bahadur Hanım, you draw attention to these issues on which the leaders of the future will focus on COVID-19 and its affairment. What are the key tools of preparation for the leaders? What are your suggestions? I think this is for you, Mr.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, the first, not tool, but factor of progress for the governments, for the leaders, so-called leaders, will be, of course, the pressure from within the society. So the key tool is all of us as individuals, electors, taxpayers, corporates, civic society people, academics. We are the tool for progress, and leaders should be the people who make that happen at the policy making and implementation level, together with, of course, with a qualified bureaucracy based on loyalty. So, key tool is a concept, good governance. Key tool is a network of human civilization. People who are enough progresses, who are sufficiently wise and visionary to not let unresponsible demagogues to get elected and to guide their countries, to lead their countries, not towards a future which can be, in a nutshell and simplistically summarized as a future of sustainable development goals and even more and beyond, of course. As much as progress, of course, that can happen. We know that everything can be relativized and gradual. However, it's still enough as an analytical prism through which we can have elites enough to tell us that we are making accountable the political systems and also the companies, and why not civic society organizations and academia and media, on the basis of or through the prism of the Sustainable Development Goals success, measurable success, of course. So it's not a tool. It's not a tool like United Nations or G20 or NATO or something like that. It's a way of being a tool ourselves.
Yes, it's us. Thank you very much. Well, on the chat box, I mean, there are not that much questions, but I do read lots of good comments. So I would like to thank the panelists that made this available. Mr. Özcan, I mean, maybe 2 more minutes for you to finalize the panel, and then Burçak Hanım also you will have 2 more minutes after that.
Well, thank you. I do not want to take so much time. We do not have also. But what I would like to say is, of course, on macro level, there are a lot of, different policies is discussing the leaders should behave, in different way. This is on the one side, but on the micro level, I mean, the life is going, all the processes is on one way. And what is important is dialogue among the parties. So especially for Turkey, the business world, the NGOs, the companies, the academia, universities, local administrations, to be more integrated in Europe, to be more integrated of Green Deal, to be more integrated on sustainable development goals, we have to integrate more ourselves with the world, not only Europe, but also with the world. So all these funding opportunities with different international institutions, including EU, is a very good opportunity. So to increase the dialogue, to establish a more sustainable cooperation and to have common efforts with different actors in the Europe and in the world. All our parties, all our sectors should have to follow this kind of opportunities, and there are lots of, let me say, different opportunities are around. So it is a very good way for cooperation. So for this panel, I would like to thank you so much for your kind invitation. I hope it is helpful for who are following us today. So thanks for again for today's opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Özcan. And Ms. Çullu, 2 minutes for you for the closing.
Okay, thank you. It was really inspiring to hear all the questions and also the notes about Green Deal and the future prospects, because it is kind of like a milestone that we are living in. It's a breaking point, and we are writing a history indeed. And we would like to create a better future together. This is why it is important to deal with European Green Deal and the other initiatives in a timely manner. I have one last comment on the title of this panel, if you allow me, Sardar Bey. It is saying the European Green Deal and Turkey. I think we need to find a way to remove that "and", because there has been always European Union and Turkey, candidate countries and Turkey. And I would like to really meet with all of you in another occasion when we say European Green Deal. It's kind of like a full stop, because we are totally partner in it, we are totally in it, and we have enough capacity, we have enough know-how, and we can also transfer knowledge to Europe, and we are open to all kind of like solutions that's going to be global at all stages. Thank you, and it was really a privilege.
Thank you, Burçak. Yes, you are right. I think we should stop using EU and Turkey. Let's, get this unified in a soon time. Well, I would like to also thank the people who actually watched us in this live broadcasting, and also thank you for the distinguished panelists. We had very well-known 4 panelists from Turkish professional world, and I do kept some keywords in my mind for this panel. Bahadur Kalasa's words, for example, the virus. Virus is financial virus, political virus, digital virus, terrorist virus, corruption virus, and virus. This is very important. And it was important that he said that the new virus is CO2 virus, carbon emission virus, I think. And we can also put this as a quarantina of this, like social and economic quarantina or political quarantina, digital quarantina. These are very interesting comments. Mr. Özcan, yes, Europe with this Green Deal will change, and with new legislations, there will be new type of policies, new taxes, new type of business will come out, investment going to change, export import will change, a new business world will come, and if we cannot adapt ourselves for this changes, probably we will be behind of these developments. Burçak Şullu, thank you very much. Yes, stakeholder is very important. Even beyond stakeholder is the new keyword for this era. And it's also important that as is also important. Defining your capacity, knowing your capacity is important. And Mr. Mehmet Nane, he was with us for a short period, but he really did a practical and gave us a practical and pragmatic examples. If you want to do, you can do it. You don't need maybe those old big fancy words of concepts. Just a goodwill is needed for that. That was an interesting point. So I think we had some important outcomes, and it was an interesting panel that we did all together. Thank you very much for all my panelists, and also thank you very much to the participants who watched us with this panel. Thank you. The roundtable meeting is finished.